Hi everyone, I'm just coming on because I have decided to do a questions and answers type video session once in a while, and that's because people ask me questions all the time about different things in their life. Sometimes I get private messaged with almost sort of, you know, just general one-off life questions. And it can be really useful just for an audience to hear those answers to those questions rather than it just be that one person. So over time, I've had a number of questions that have come in, and I would like to share some of the answers that I gave regarding those questions with a wider audience. So hopefully this is going to help you in some way. I've put in the title what the questions are, so that, you know, if they resonate with you, then you can just, you know, hear some of the ideas that maybe I come up with. And these questions are just there to try to help you to better understand, you know, how to deal with certain situations at certain times in your life. And I'm sure a lot of you will be able to relate to a lot of these different questions. So my first question came in a little while ago, and it was, I've just broken up with my first long-term boyfriend, and I can't seem to get over him. It's been 4 months, but I'm still obsessing about the time that he spends on various social media like WhatsApp, and if I see him online or I feel like he's talking to somebody else, then I'm incredibly jealous. What do I do about this? Will it ever feel different? Well, yes, it will feel different at some point, but like everything in life, if we lose something and actually it's not been, you know, we don't feel like we've been the one at fault, then, you know, it can be very, very difficult to move on at first, but you do move on eventually. And those feelings, those intense feelings of grief, which is what you're going through, a loss, they tend to subside over time. And when you begin to sort of reintroduce yourself back out into society again, you're looking for different things, and maybe you can take this as a time to reflect. You know, if your ex-boyfriend is talking to other people online, then it means that he's mentally detaching himself from you, and that's a sign that really maybe he doesn't want to get back together. So, you know, actually looking at your self-esteem and your confidence is a good place to start, because when we come out of a long-term relationship, we've been in that relationship with that person for you know, maybe many months, maybe many years, and you know, sometimes we become so part of a couple that what we want and how we would ordinarily behave becomes changed in some way. So it's useful sometimes to actually come out of a relationship and rediscover who you are as a person. We can also lose self-confidence and self-esteem because we depend on the other person sometimes to provide us with those things. So, you know, you've really got to start to look at your own self-worth in these sort of scenarios. And, you know, when you actually begin to encourage yourself to get out and start to meet new people, you begin to reacquaint yourself with the things that you actually want to happen. And I'm sure that if you remember back to, you know, prior to you splitting up, I'm sure that there were things which were not right in your relationship. So this is a really, really good opportunity for you to do some self-development, do some soul searching, and to actually look at the things which were not right from both angles. So if there was something that wasn't right for you, you know, they were doing something that you didn't like, or you had rows about certain things, then start to have a look into what those things were, and start to think about how you would like to go into a relationship afresh with somebody else, because of course it is going to happen. And unfortunately, we can't force somebody else to feel something if they don't. And so if your boyfriend, you know, just doesn't feel that they want to be in a relationship with you anymore, then there's nothing you can do about that. You can't change that, and you're wasting energy trying to change it. So my best advice is to begin to build your self-esteem and confidence. And you can do that with the help of a counsellor, you can do it with the help of some hypnotherapy, or maybe just some self-reflection. Write a list of the things that you would like to do going forwards in your life. Start to plan for a future rather than being very, very stuck in the moment, feeling those negative feelings that you felt up until now. But trust me, sometimes these things happen for a reason. Most of the time these things happen for a reason. And whilst it's really, really, you know, sad at the moment, it won't be sad in the future. And you will be able to actually move forwards maybe into something better and realise when you look back that that person really wasn't the long-term partner for you. So I hope that helps. Okay, question 2. I'm at uni in my 3rd year and I can't seem to focus at all. I'm out every night getting drunk with my friends, and that seems to be more important than the degree is. What can I do? Okay, so the answer to that is that you probably need to really assess what it is that you want to get out of this 3-year period of studying. You're coming up towards the end, and if you haven't done all of the work and put all of the effort in, then chances are you're not going to get your degree. And I suppose you've got to ask yourself the question, what is most important? You've obviously presumably spent a ton of money whilst being at university. You know, it's not cheap in England to go to university. But, you know, so, and also you're coming up, I'm thinking, because we're in like February, you're coming up to the end, maybe part of your, you know, course. And I think I would try to look at what's important to you. Is it important that you get this degree? How do you feel you're going to feel? And it's not really about anybody else, but how are you going to feel if you fail that degree? It's not a long period of time between now and the time that you've probably got to submit your final dissertations and things. So have a think about, you know, prioritising your time. Yes, you can still go out and have a social life. Yes, you can. But maybe not every single night, you know. Perhaps focus on the things that you can do now to pull things back so that you've got a chance of passing that degree. Also look to the future. So what do you want to do with that degree after you leave university? That's often quite a fundamental thing that we never sort of really do. We don't really look far enough into the future to see the bigger picture. So, you know, what would you like to be doing in 5 years' time with your life? You know, if you, I don't know what degree you're doing, but if, you know, you've been doing a psychology degree, do you want to be becoming qualified to become a psychologist? You know, that's not going to happen if you don't get the degree. And, you know, you can be as successful as you want to be if you can see it in the future. So maybe write down some goals, goal setting to get yourself re-motivated. The other thing that I would, you know, ask you to look at would be, you know, is the alcohol playing a bit of a role? And are you dependent on the alcohol? If you are dependent on the alcohol, then what are you going to do about looking into that? You know, is it something that you can get help with? There are certain things that you can access via the doctor, certain services that could help you with that. And, you know, that's got to be controlled. If you're drinking every single night and you're getting obliterated every single night and it's got to the point where you don't know whether you're going to, you know, be passing your degree, then, you know, perhaps you need to start to seek some of that more medical advice. And there's lots and lots of things that you can access online to do with addictions as well. So that's my best advice to you, really. Just write a list write a list of what you've got to do, look into the future, and try to assess what it is that you want to achieve longer term. Once you've done that, your mind will focus on that rather than what you can't do. And that's a really fundamental trick in life, is to see it in your mind, and then you can actually achieve whatever it is that you've set out to do. So refocus. Have a word to yourself and refocus. Okay, so question 3 is, I'm married, I'm in my late 40s, and I've completely lost my sex drive. What can I do? The first thing that you need to do if you've lost your sex drive is consider that there's something hormonal going on. Obviously, some people in long-term relationships, you lose the va-va-voom in your relationship, and that happens over time, and sometimes it can be quite corrosive, and your partner can wonder why that's happened, and it can put a strain on the relationship. But actually, there can be medical reasons why you lose that libido. So your first port of call has to be the doctor, and your doctor is not concerned about your sex life, or you going in talking about your sex life. He or she is just concerned with trying to help you sort that problem out. And quite often it's hormonal. Quite often when men get to a certain age, their testosterone starts to drop down, and it's just a case of beginning to rebalance the hormones within the guy. If it's emotional, so if you're under a lot of stress, look at the other areas of your life. Are you, very, very stressed at work? Are you in a high pressure job? Are kids, around you sapping all of that energy, and maybe making it difficult to actually have some form of sex drive? Because interruptions and kids calling out in the night and stuff like that's not very conducive sometimes to a healthy sex life. So there's lots of different areas that you can look into. There are sex therapists who do work with sexual issues, but they will always, if they've been trained properly, they're always going to ask you to go and seek help from the doctor first. A simple blood test would be able to tell you what was going on internally, and that might actually just help in general to sort the whole thing out. If it's a relationship issue and you've got, you've just lost that desire to have sex with your partner, then you need to look into the psychology behind that too. What's going on? What's gone wrong? Every life issue, whatever it happens to be, can really be helped with just talking things through and honesty. And sometimes it's hard to be honest about sex, especially if you're a Brit, because in the UK, we tend to be a little bit more reserved about talking about sex. But actually it's not, it should never be a taboo subject between you and a partner. So talk to the doctor, talk to your other half. They may be very confused as to what's going on, but if you're reaching out for help and you've asked this question, then it means that you're actually up for doing something about it, which is the first step forwards. So if you go to the doctor and they say that there's nothing wrong, that's absolutely fine. Then seek some sort of counselling or some sort of therapy. And like I said, there's 6 sexual therapists, psychosexual therapists they're called, and they will be able to talk through and start to remove some of the blocks maybe, or help alleviate some of the issues that are in the background if it is non-medical. Okay, so I hope that's helped. What I'd like you to do, audience, is if you would send some questions, then I'm more than happy to anonymously answer those questions, and I should just be popping up and doing maybe 3 videos a month or so. If I get more questions, I'll do them more frequently, but I hope it's been useful, and I would really love to hear from you. And if you've got anything to add underneath the video with regards to advice for people, maybe signposting people to resources, go for it, because I am really up for, you know, a community helping one another. And my final comment is that, you know, we've all seen the Caroline Flack stuff recently, you know, and she has really highlighted that we need to try to help one another more. You know, we really need to try to help support each other rather than tear each other down. So, you know, be positive. If you're going to comment on any of my stuff, be positive. Luckily, I've got a really lovely audience who is normally really positive. So, you know, keep it up, guys. And, you know, a collective advice sometimes is better than just one voice. So, you know, comment underneath. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye.